We're here talking today about being organized. So can we assume you're not organized because you're here? Like, are you at the right event? We don't just make sure. We're getting started right on time. So let's get right into it. To say the least, right? Well, we are in for a treat here today because we've got two of the best. We've got Clarkson from Des Moines, Iowa, as well as Chinatti from Boston. Let's give them a huge round of applause. And you know what we're going to do today? We want to make sure, we've seen some others that we've done. Not everybody's gotten all their questions answered. Today, you've got them to pick their brain, ask questions. We're going to talk about their business, but we also want to make sure we've got enough time to answer your questions. Is that good enough? That help? All right, so here's what I want you to do. Pay attention, be organized, have a lot of great questions for them as well, right? We're here talking today about being organized. So can we assume you're not organized because you're here? Like, are you at the right event? We don't just make sure. We're getting started right on time. So let's get right into it. Why don't you tell a little bit about yourself, Lisa?
So my name's Lisa. I'm from Massachusetts. I have a team, a fairly large team. So to give you a little bit of background about myself, I started in 2015. I sold 8 homes. I joined coaching in 2016 and finished the year at 82 homes as a solo agent.
Wait a minute, back that up. What happened? That was amazing.
Yep, so 82 in 2016 all by myself. And then I formed my team last year and we finished at 212 homes sold. And then we've kept growing and growing. And last year, 212. And this year, I'm happy to say we just put 227 under agreement today. Ooh. And so we're on pace to do somewhere between 350 and 400.
That is amazing.
Yes.
What do you attribute a lot of that growth to? What have you done?
Well, so coaching was a big part of it, right? So understanding, coming up with a plan, being able to get out of my own way, come up with a plan, keep it organized, and be able to keep myself on task to accomplish all of the goals that I needed to do in order to get to that point, right? So there's so many tasks that we have to do every single day, whether it's as a solo agent, a member of a team, or running a team. There's just so much that goes into it.
How were you in your own way? How did your coach help you get out of your own way?
So Mike helps me on a daily basis. I can be a little bit over-focused on one task at a time and not always able to see the bigger picture. So one of the things that he helps me do is see the bigger picture and understand that it might be 4 or 5 different things happening simultaneously that are going to help me achieve my goals.
So he sees the big picture. When we're sometime in it, we don't see that, right?
Correct, yeah, and he's in absolutely everything. Yes, and I'm a mom. I have 2 girls. They're 12 and 14, so I'm balancing all of that.
Wow. So Kyle, tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Yeah, my name is Kyle Clarkson. I'm from Des Moines, Iowa. Yep, okay. I know there's a couple Iowans in the building. I started in real estate back in 2004, kind of did my thing, was selling about 30 houses a year. I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but the real estate market in like 2009, 2010 wasn't great, right? Yeah, okay, so market kind of tanked. I told my wife, I'm like, if I could find a job, pay me like $60,000 a year, I'd take it, and I did. And I took a job teaching people about real estate because I couldn't do it myself. But one of the nice things, so one of the nice things about teaching is I knew like, hey, if I'm gonna teach people this, I need to know it. And that's where I got connected with Tom Ferry and their organization, started listening to some things and got excited. And I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go in and sell and I'm gonna join coaching. And so at my max before I got into coaching, I did 30 deals a year. I did my first year in coaching, I did 60. Right now this year, I'm at 65. My goal this year is 83, although my coach keeps pushing it up all the time, but at 65 and looking to do about 83 or in that ballpark.
And your coach is?
Javier,
right on the front row. What does he hold you to? How does he help you?
Well, I mean, for me, it started. The minute I got in, it was developing a plan, right? But it started with my mindset. Mm-hmm. And so in my schedule, first thing in the morning are my affirmations.
Gotcha.
And so I know that, I got to believe first. And so he's really, all the time, even at the beginning of this year, he said, okay, who's first in your company? I was 7th in my company out of like 120 agents last year. I said, well, Megan is. He goes, well, you're going to pass her up. And, I am number 1. So that's what we got going.
There you go. Good. So what is your schedule? Like, tell them a little bit about how does that look?
Yeah, so firm believer, you hear it often here, but you live by that schedule, right? If it's not in your schedule, it doesn't exist. So if I pull on my calendar right now, 6 o'clock is my affirmations, 7 o'clock I'm to the gym, 8:30 I'm starting my calls.
Nice.
And then kind of, appointments in the afternoon, so on and so forth.
So how do you handle something that some appointment comes in and it's in your prospecting time? How do you handle, that's the biggest thing, like getting off that schedule.
Yep. So tomorrow I'm flying back tonight. I got 2 closings in the morning tomorrow, and normally, prospecting is 8:30. So I got a closing at 8 and 10 tomorrow. You got to find time. I mean, one thing Javier reminds me of often, if you're not going to make that time, you got to put it somewhere else in the calendar. Okay. So we shift it to the afternoon, make sure it gets done, because that's priority number 1.
So it's gonna get done. You're not gonna just pick it up the next day. You're gonna find the time to do it.
Yeah, I've never missed. Never.
Ooh. Never missed.
I'm kidding. No. I feel like if I can get 75%, like if I live my week 75% by my schedule, my calendar, it's a great week. And that's my goal, and I usually hit it.
So it doesn't have to be perfect either.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
Why do so many people feel like it's got to be perfect, and then when they get off, they get way off? Anybody ever have that feeling? You got a plan, and then you never get back? How do you get back?
I think it starts with the basics, right? I mean, that means tomorrow morning I'm up at 6 reading my affirmations. And it's kind of a reset of my mindset.
Nice. So tell them a little bit about the team dynamic in your business and how that's changed. Because I know a few years ago you were doing everything. Now what does it look like?
Yep. So now what it looks like for me, I've about 30 agents on the team, and I have 9 staff members who help support and run the team on a daily basis. I've just left production, so I sold 12 houses this year, and I'm done. So my dynamic has shifted, and one of my big roles is to coach and mentor my agents and help them accomplish their goals. So my big thing is leading by example, right? So I keep a time block posted on the door of my office, and it's color-coded. And one of the things that I ask my team is to hold me just as accountable as I'm going to hold them. And I give them that permission and ask them if I have permission to hold them accountable. So if you walk in, you'll see that my calendar is color-coded, and they all kind of know what the colors are. Pink is time for me. Orange is time when I'm doing business development, and yellow is time for them. And so they know when it's yellow, they come in and I'm a resource and I'm there. But if I'm supposed to be on a pink time, which is either with my kids or my husband or at the gym, and I'm not there, like doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I give them permission to hold me accountable to it and ask them to give me consequences. So I keep $800 in my Venmo account, and every time they catch me breaking my time block and they call me out on it, I'll Venmo them $20.
Nice. That's some accountability there. That's awesome. So she's on. She's in.
I haven't paid out any yet this year.
That's good. So how, we talked a little bit earlier before this about the dynamic of your team, and you're growing. How do you keep that culture? How do you keep that fun? What are things that you do around that to keep them tight?
To keep them motivated. So we plan stuff, right? We block out activities, but we know that we all have to make them fun. So we have call parties like twice a month, and at night or in the morning, and we're all there and we're doing the same activities together and making sure that everybody's doing the activities that we know are going to generate money, but work hard, play hard. So when we accomplish big goals, the other side of it for us is understanding that we celebrate, right? So last month we took the entire team to Foxwoods, which is a casino in Connecticut. We put them all on a party bus, drove them there, and celebrated for the night because we hit massive GCI for the month of June.
What did you hit? What was the number? Tell them.
$400,000 in commission in 1 month.
In 1 month. Is that a time to celebrate? Fantastic. And so what'd you do around that trip? Tell them, because I know there was a lot of great things that came from that as well.
Yeah, so it was super fun bonding, right? We all got in the party bus and went down, and there was dancing and there was laughing and joking all on the way down, which was amazing, and everybody getting to know each other. So my team, I have 19-year-olds who sell with me, and then I have women in their 50s who sell with me. But they all get along and have this amazing culture. So we had the bus ride down. As they were getting off the bus, I handed them each a $100 bill to go gamble with. And then we arranged for 2 hours of bowling and, having fun again together, a little bit more gambling, and then we took the bus ride back.
Nice.
So super fun.
And everybody was posting, having fun.
Yeah, that was the best part, right? So like the culture, there were over 30 posts on Facebook tagging myself and the team and all of their teammates about how amazing it was. what it did, and some people don't realize it, but it's kind of systematic too for me, because what that did was we had 3 agents from outside the team reach out to us about what it would be like to work with us. So it's a recruiting funnel in a lot of ways, and not just for the team, but also for the brokerage, right? So kind of everything that I do is very systematic for one reason or another. So work hard, play hard, but it also benefits the team.
Nice. Kyle, what's a challenge you have? What's one thing you struggle with on a daily basis that maybe they can?
Well, I mean, time management is always a struggle. So, like Lisa, I live by my calendar. And so it's, if I don't schedule, it doesn't exist. So I coach my son's team. It's in there, and I make it happen, right? So you got to schedule around those things. And it's just me. I had a buyer's agent for 3 months. He sold 7 houses, then left. I mean, what an idiot for leaving. But so I got to get a new one. Javier reminds me all the time. But so, one of the things that struggle for me is like I got to do everything, right? Got to go out and show houses, do all that. So to work it in the schedule and make sure that I'm redirecting, that time in the morning. That's, I have an assistant. So one of the great things that she does is, 1, for accountability, but 2, she puts a list. So if I got to make 16 calls a day, she puts that list in front of me every day. So in the morning, maybe there's 5 from my SOI that's in there, 5 from a farm, whatever. She's putting the list of 16 people and then holding me accountable to it. So having her is a huge asset for him. It took me over a year to hire her, I think, and he was on me over. So I eventually get there, but it's been huge growth.
How do you handle any distractions that come up? What do you do to stay dialed in?
To stay dialed in, distractions. Happens like, I don't have distractions. No, I have distractions continually. I mean, they're all around you, right? So, I'm making my calls, and so I'm starting at 8:30, and that email comes in because this deal's going south, and how do you handle it? So I think one of the things I got to do is make sure that, hey, I set my message. Voicemail is going to say I'm not available between this and this time, because I know my priority number 1 is to make those calls. So as much as I can eliminate those distractions, I'm going to be a lot better off.
Gotcha. Lisa, tell them about your why. What is the big why for you around what you're building?
So my why, as I mentioned, I'm a mom, and I've got 2 daughters. And so my why is that I went to college and got an education, and then I took time off to be a mom. And I want my 2 daughters to realize that as women, we can go to school, get an education, take time to be parents and to do the things that are important to us, but then we can be massively successful. And that being a mom and being a woman doesn't put ceilings on what we do, and knowing that whatever they set their minds to, they're going to be able to do.
Awesome. Let's clap that up. So being an example.
Yes.
And living it and doing it.
Yes.
What do you struggle with on a daily basis?
What do I struggle with? I struggle with, and still struggle with it sometimes, is feeling, even though it's so much better. So when I sold 82 homes in 2016, I was in Visamom. I worked probably 80 to 90 hours a week, and gave up a lot. And I've taken a lot of it back by putting in place systems and a schedule and putting in place accountability. But it's still, sometimes I think I can get pulled in a direction and not commit the time to my family. That's my biggest struggle.
How does your coach help you remind you about those things?
He absolutely holds me accountable to it. And family is first for Mike, and that's something that I really respect about him. And he's the one, when Mike and I first started meeting, he asked me to write out what my 3 goals were for why I joined coaching. So my 3 goals were to balance time with my family, to be able to cash flow my kids' education, and to save for my retirement. And all of those things spoke to him, because I think that they're a lot, we align in that way. So he's held me accountable to making sure that I have time for my family. And, my daughter's going to private high school this year, and that was an expense I didn't expect when I started coaching, but I'm able to cash flow that without having to worry about it. And I've put away massive money for retirement. So he's holding me accountable to hitting all of my goals.
Gotcha. So what's your big why? What is driving you?
I'm married for 16 years, 3 kids. That's a huge why. I remember getting into coaching 3 years ago, and, Javier and I talking about that, because that's, without the why, what the how doesn't matter, right? So the why for me, it's centered around them, but I also had to get my own life in order. developing those systems, having a schedule, sticking to that schedule. At that point in my life, I had high blood pressure. And so even the physical part, Javier kept me accountable to that. Like, hey, you get into the gym. Got off the blood pressure medicine within a year. And, that's how I have this amazing body.
Your coach is, right. Your coach is helping you with your health, it's a whole balance
It's
picture.
a whole balance. We talk about mind, body, soul, all those things as part of, gets to that morning routine is where it began. Knowing that if you start the day right, it really sets you for the entire day. That if I, again, starts with the mindset and reading my affirmations, then getting to the gym and then, doing all that. So he's been huge in that part of my life as well.
What made you told me you were a third generation realtors in your family. How did you finally give up or say, you know what, I can't do this on my own, or I can't figure it out on my own?
Yeah, so go back 2004, I had a grandpa that had a real Century 21 franchise in Des Moines. My dad was a broker in Des Moines, and they taught me a lot of great things. Sales skills, I learned the sales part of it. I'd go to an open house, convert, those type of things. But one thing they never taught me is they never taught me how to run a business.
Okay.
And that's what this is. I never learned how to run a business. I just go to open house, whatever, no plan. And they did a great job on that part of it. But it wasn't until I got into coaching, where year one, I doubled more than I'd ever done because I actually had a plan.
Right.
As Tom was mentioned, I'm not a hobbyist.
Right.
This was actually a business. And so when I started treating it like a business is when it took off.
Gotcha. Treat it like a business. Let's open it up to some questions. Good stuff so far? What questions do you have? We've got the experts. Yes, right there. Question is, do you have ISAs?
I do. I have 2 in my business. And so we utilize them in a workflow fashion. And so some of the biggest tools that we use, like our CRM and that kind of stuff, for me, when leads come in, they go to my agents and they stay with my agents for 12 to 14 days for 12 to 14 days of paying. And if the agent isn't able to engage the lead or convert the lead, then they move to the ISAs. Or if the agent engages the lead and he or she says, I'm probably 6 to 9 months out, we send it to the ISA for the long-term nurture and then have it move back to the agent.
So what would you say to somebody that, I don't have an ISA, I can't afford an ISA?
Oh gosh, you don't need one. And so one of the things that I learned through coaching is that my lead flow is like a faucet, right? And I can turn it on and I can turn it off based on whatever I'm able to handle at any given time. So if you're a solo agent and you don't have an ISA, I don't think you need one. And it's not really an expense to take on because you can dial back on the lead flow for the short period of time. Mike, the one thing that he drives home with my team, so my whole team is coached by Mike, is go deep, don't go wide, right? So we convert our Zillow leads between 10 and 11%, which is phenomenal conversion. But we're very cautious about limiting the number of leads that we give to each agent. So I never want to give them more leads than they're going to be able to consistently follow up on over the duration of time. And we find that the fewer leads we give them, actually the higher the conversion rate and the better the profit margins and the ROI.
What's that number?
What's
the number of leads? How many?
I never want to give them more than 20 to 25 leads a month, sometimes up to 35, but I don't like to go there. And we try to limit their database to 40 at a time because that's the number. When you look at the 10 to 12 days of pain, right, for us, that looks like 2 phone calls a day at the very least, right? We want them touching in the morning, and if they don't make contact, we want them touching again in the evening. So if you multiply that out, 20 leads a month times 2 phone calls a day times 12 days, it's a lot of phone calls, right? So fewer leads, higher quality of touches equals higher conversion.
So at the end of the day, it's a numbers game.
Real estate is math.
Right.
It's all about math.
Nice. Yes.
Yeah, so it's just me, and first of all, like emails, again, it's easy to get distracted, right? Because we get into the office and there's 100 different things. There's all these emails that are in our inbox, but it's got to be on the back burner. So if I'm making calls 8:30 to 10, that's what I'm doing. After that, I get to those tasks. Now, I also have an assistant, and she's in my email, and if it's something she can respond to, then she responds and takes care of it. So she does a lot of that. I'll do what she can't handle on that. Phone calls, if I'm available in the evening, I'll probably answer it. And if it's from Zillow or some other online lead, I'll try to run with it.
So mine's a little bit different because of the team. So I do block off time, and I'm very upfront with clients and with agents about the time that I'm available for phone calls and emails up front. With the agents, one of the things that we've done, again, working with Mike and understanding quality of life is huge, right? We have our agents taking lead shifts, and so they sign up for 3-hour increments. And over those 3-hour increments is when we're holding them accountable to things like speed to lead and response times, and when they should be scheduling their follow-up. So if they're not available, and I don't want them to be available 24 hours a day, even as a solo agent, we shouldn't be on call 24 hours a day. And a lot of it is scripting, right? Or putting it away and knowing when to take it out. And it's a hard skill to learn, to be able to put it away. But scripting it up front with the clients. And I've found that a lot of clients always understand. They usually have families and stuff as well. And real estate, there's nothing that's going to be a true emergency, right? It's not life and death. So it can wait an hour.
Why do agents act like it's life and death or all these emergencies?
Well, I think it's hard to think that you're going to lose the business, but my kind of philosophy as I've grown the business is that I want to work with people who respect me as a professional, who respect my time, and who respect my skill, right? And finding that balance is humongous.
Great question. Yes, right over there. So the question is, how did you go from doing almost everything to transitioning to a more balanced schedule in life?
Yeah, that was tough. And so I've actually had 2 coaches since I've been in coaching. My first coach was all about mindset and was actually the one who taught me to hire an assistant, right? Hire somebody who's going to be able to. So, y'all, I wouldn't get paid if I didn't have assistants. So I'm going to be completely honest. Like, I am, my C, for anybody who knows DISC profiles, I joke that it's negative. Like if you could have a negative graph, I have no C. And so I have to work to be organized, and I have to work to be able to keep that all in place. But so one of the systems that I established was finding people who fill my weaknesses. So I have a great assistant who, and one of the things, so early on, my first coach, Mary, taught me that paying somebody even for a smaller period of time would allow me to get back to the income producing activities that I was going to make more money on. So finding somebody who could fill those weaknesses and take that off my plate helped me get to that next level.
So you're not born organized is what I just learned.
I am definitely not born.
You work at being organized.
Yeah, I have to
Awesome.
work hard at it, and I work hard at it every day.
Yes, far back. Let's share with both. Kyle, talk about your systems around follow-up, and then Lisa, you tag off that.
Yeah, so my assistant's a big part of that, but we have a couple CRMs that we use, and I like spreadsheets. And so everything I've got in my spreadsheet is open all the time. So I've got leads from wherever they're coming from, my last touch point with them, and then my assistant, who's, in our 2 CRMs that we use, that's where she's pulling them from. And okay, now where you need to talk to these 5 from our SOI or these 5 from the farm, she runs that part of it. So I've got probably 3 different systems that are kind of always open, on my computer. I use Boomtown. I've got my spreadsheet, and then we have been using Contactually, so that'd be a nice shift as well for us.
Nice. And what's your follow-up like, Lisa?
So we use a couple different things as well in different kind of ways. So I use Real Geeks, and we have everything is scheduled for follow-up. So one of the things that we like to teach our agents and that I teach myself is that my brain is like a sponge and it's full 95% of the day. And I'm never going to remember anything. And so I have learned to fill that weakness by scheduling everything, whether it's in my CRM with follow-up or whether it's in other, systems. So my assistant and my sales manager talk through Trello, and we'll assign doing, done boards through Trello. So we understand what tasks are being done, who's working on what, and we can tag it back and forth so that I know I'm not the stopgap for Rachel finishing something that she needs to do or Jason finishing something that he needs to do. Trello communicates with our Google Calendars, so we're able to, if I'm really running behind on something, Jason can take it from within Trello, tag it, and push it into my Google Calendar so that I see it that morning when I open it up and can get it done. And then we use a bunch of other, Dropbox is huge for us, Google Drive, so that we're constantly sharing data back and forth, and using Dotloop to keep track of all the transactions that are going on.
Great. Yes. So the question is integrating social media. How do you do that?
I don't do it.
That was a big takeaway for me, from Tom yesterday is, that whole campaign. One of the big things I did last year is, my assistant's a big part of this, so she does, daily with our Instagram and Facebook. She's taking care of that. Last year we did a big campaign. A 30 for 30 is what we called it. So we did this 30 for 30 campaign where basically I went around to 30 different business owners in my community and we just did a question and answer with them. And so that was probably one of the greatest things we did, on social media last year. Had great return, I probably had more shares and more comments on those than anything I'd ever done in the past.
There were videos or interviews?
They were,
Okay.
So they were video interviews. We just went, I went to, a couple of restaurants, went to a couple different gyms, coffee house, and then it was for the month of April, and we called it 30 for 30, awesome. 30 business owners in 30 days.
How was that in the beginning? Was that a little awkward, a little different, a little out of your comfort zone?
Yeah, for sure. And, even, we were doing Facebook Lives, which I wouldn't do it that way if I did it again, but we're live with these people. And so, I'm at, I know this may surprise you, I'm not a big guy, but so I'm at this gym and he's like, hey, you know what, let's do some deadlifts. And so here I am in like a suit and tie and I get down, I'm deadlifting for the first time in my life.
Right.
But we learned and we had a lot of fun with it.
Bars on your neck.
Yeah,
right?
it was great.
Awesome. Yes. So the question is, how do you, anybody feel overwhelmed sometimes? A lot of information. How do you decipher, go through that information, especially around social media and all the things that we hear and see?
Yeah, so for me, I'm not the most comfortable person on video. It pains me. This actually is far outside my comfort zone, to be completely honest. And so I look at it and I set goals, right? Small goals. You'll see a few videos of me here and there. Like if you go on my Facebook profile, you'll probably see 4 in the past year. But realistically, those 4 videos probably happened in the past 30 days. And I break it down, right? Just like anything else, I just chunk it down and say, what small part of this can I bite off now? And then keep building off of it, right? So if I can take it so that the first one was a video of just me with my team, right? So I didn't have to be in the spotlight and having full attention on me. And then add in another little layer where maybe it's me and one agent. So again, it's not fully the attention on me. And chunk it out. And it's just like any other part of the business, right? Building your business plan, do it in a chunk. Doing your marketing plan, chunk it down. You don't have to eat the whole apple at once, right?
That's a great thought, yes. I'm sorry, online leads. What are her best sources for online leads?
So I look at lead gen just like anything else, right? And then you've got to have all these different pillars, kind of like Tom and all of the coaches always talk about through it all, is that you've got to make a business that's going to be able to sustain, right? So looking at all the different pillars that we have, we use Zillow, we use Realtor.com, I use Facebook marketing, Google pay-per-click. I've just dove into pay-per-click with Bing. So across the board, it's all sorts of different pillars that drive in on the online front.
What's your best lead sources, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, one of the great things over the last couple of years is really discovering who I was. We always talk about agent archetypes and understand, am I a converter? Am I a marketer? Am I a prospector? Or am I a networker? And for me, I don't really like people. So
I love it. So
to realize, I'm a converter. And so at that point in my career, I'm like, you know what, I need to double down on Zillow. And so I doubled down on Zillow and saw an increase there, and doing a lot with geographic farming. And so these are some of my sources. Now, those other things need to happen still. The prospecting part of it, the networking for sure. I got to hit my SOI, but realizing in my sweet spot is that converter, that marketer type, and that's who I am. And I think when you kind of discover okay, this is who I am, and your lead sources kind of fall in line with that, I mean, you feel better about what you're doing, feel more excited about what you're doing, and I think that's an important thing to take a look at.
Nice. Yes.
So how do I recruit? So I kind of the same thing that I look at with online leads. I look at recruiting as though I've got to have all sorts of different pillars that are leading into a big funnel to keep it going, right? So I use a service called Wise Hire where I've always got ads running. And my philosophy as the team has gotten bigger is that when I find talent, no matter what they're good at, I'm going to find a place for that talent on my team. Right? So I recruit through Facebook. I recruit by running call parties in my office, and I invite everybody from outside brokerages in to experience my culture. We train them, we give them leads, and tell them if they book business, give us a referral fee back. We run lunch and learns where we go out into the community and talk about the things that we're really good at and the things that we're passionate about. My agents are my biggest cheerleaders, right? So they're out working with co-brokes and they're saying how fantastic we are, and that's just another source that's kind of coming in. I cold call through rosters. And so I really probably have 6 or 7 different lead pillars for agent recruiting that are going into the funnel and understanding the different, just like any kind of other lead, right? Like as agents, we all know Zillow leads convert faster than Facebook leads, which convert slower than pay-per-click leads. And all the different recruiting sources have the same thing, and it's letting them get to the bottom of the funnel.
Yes. How do you handle the emotional highs and lows?
Take it out on my kids, for starters. No, I'm kidding. I mean, one thing that I've really had to learn is almost like this metaphorical taking off my coat when I walk in the house. Like, I'm leaving these troubles at the door. My wife and kids are not going to be a part of it. Because we all know, I mean, they're every day, right? The more business you do, the more troubles there are. And, so my goal is I'm not going to bring that home with me. Leave it at the door, reset my mind. Yeah, I got to reset my mind. I got to go back to the beginning of my day. And for me, my affirmations start, my first affirmation in the morning is I am the best damn realtor in Des Moines, right? And there's a couple more right here, but I still believe it. And so, knowing that, right? And, as my business has grown, there's more opportunity, right? It's abundance. And so if I go back 5 years ago, there wasn't abundance. And if I'd lose that deal, it would kill me. But now because there's an abundance, it's like, on to the next. And so that's a big part because there's been so much growth. I mean, it still hurts. It's still that kick in the stomach, right? Every time. And that doesn't go away, but it's a little easier to swallow and handle.
But let's talk about, you said there, how about your mindset? How has your coach worked with you around mindset? Because you said back then there wasn't abundance. Do you feel like there's abundance now?
There is abundance for me. Part of that is creating, those different pillars or spokes of where business is coming. So, right, that abundance came from realizing it's not just about showing up in an open house Sunday and hoping somebody shows up or hoping my phone will ring, but actually creating opportunities that are going to make the phone ring. Right. And so now going from I hope I have a lead to now there's several leads, and now I got to have systems in place to actually follow up with all these leads I have. So
for your example, what we do when that happens is say, fuck it, and I'm going to fill it with 2 more pieces of business.
I didn't know
I'm
you
serious.
would say that word. Oh my gosh. Shocking. Lisa.
The pearls are deceiving.
Right.
No, but so seriously, so when that happens,
yeah.
right, next, but not only am I going to take the negative energy that I feel from it, but I'm going to hop on the dialer and I'm going to dial until I get enough appointments to fill that 1 lost listing with 2 more. You know what started I don't know if everybody knows, but so when I was leaving, what started my transition, like one of the questions I get a lot is why 8 to 82, right? And it was a mindset shift because somebody told me I couldn't make it as a realtor. And they told me that I didn't have what it took to succeed in this business. And so the biggest motivator to me is somebody telling me that I can't do it or trying to prove me wrong, right? And then once you work with a coach or whomever you use as your mentor to help you figure out how to turn that around and how to build it from there, you just put the pieces in place and it.
Have we got, if you're a coach, raise your hand. We've got coaches. There's your
That's
coach
my guy.
right there. What would you do without your coach?
I would be lost, and he knows that, and I tell him that like every single Tuesday morning at 8:30. So.
How about you? What would you do without your coach?
I go back to what I was doing before I was in coaching, right? At my best, I was 30, doing 30 deals a year or whatever. I had high blood pressure. I wasn't working out, and he really helped me put those systems in place. Accountability's been a huge part of it, and sometimes I screw up, right? But I'm like, he's on me about it, right? So, I mean, to have that, it's like, hey, here's did you get this done? No, what? He's on me about it, so.
Who is considering coaching in the audience? Who is on that fence right now? What would you say to someone that is like, I'm not believing this, or I think I can do it myself? What would you say to someone considering coaching?
Man, I remember going back to 2004 and looking at the people that were doing business and like I never do that. Like that's a pipe dream. But that dream has become a reality, and him and coaching it's a huge part of that in every aspect of my life. I think mind, body, soul, business, all of that, huge growth.
Nice. How about you, Lisa?
Same thing. There's no way I could do it on my own. To understand how to get, I can can get to 30 or 40 on my own, but no way I'd be able to figure out how to grow a team. No way I'd be able to figure out how to provide the leverage and how to balance all the financials and everything else that goes with it in order to understand that it's a business and that it's not just a hobby and it's not just a high-paying job, it's a business. And
How have you made the most out of your calls and coaching? Because some people are like, oh, it's just 30 minutes. You know, how do you make the most out of that? For those
I
income.
give Mike permission to hold me highly accountable and understanding that we've got full transparency between us. He's in absolutely every system of my business and, you know, kind of understands what's going on, and we get down to business. And I think we accomplish more in 30 minutes than I accomplish in 5 hours with most other people because he takes the lead.
Nice.
So one time I missed a deadline. I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember where I'm going with this? And you hung up on me and you said, I'm not talking to you again until you get your listing presentation redone, and I'm going to charge you for the call. And that was the motivation I needed
Little accountability,
to never
to
miss
say
a
the
again.
least.
That was the best thing
There
you
you
ever
go.
did
That's
for
a good
me.
one.
That spoke to me.
Let's give Lisa and let's have a huge round of applause for them. Thank you very much.